Mickey Stevenson, and I'm originally from Detroit, Motown, but I'm living in Los Angeles. Well, actually, Woodland Hills now. Yeah,
And why do they call it Motown?
because we built automobiles in Detroit, so motor cars, Motown. So we took that and combined it, to Motown Records. Okay, so Berry Gordy Jr. named it Motown Records. And that came because in Detroit we made automobiles. That was our main industrial thing, was cars. And so Motortown, Motown. That was a great idea, personally. Barry started Motown, I think, it, in 58, 59, in that area. I could be off a little bit, but it was during that time that I met him. So I would say that was Barry started around 59, 58, 59. Yeah, I joined Motown in 59. Um, we met at a barber shop. I put that in my book called The A&R Man. I started with him then to be an artist, and I wanted to be a singer. And he had his thoughts of me being the A&R man for his company. So we kind of got together, and I agreed to be an A&R man for his company so that I could become a singer. Being an A&R man, that's artist and repertoire. As an A&R man, I was in charge of all the music and all the artists. So being in charge, I would record myself. That was the game plan anyway. But he had other plans. And his plan went out, of course. I was not quite the singer that he thought I should be. And he proved to be right. When I met people like Marvin Gaye and people who could really sing, I said, wait a minute, he's right. Let me record them, not me. Barry had a dream to build this record company. And I had a dream of being an artist. And together, along with some other great talented like Smokey Robinson and others, we were all caught up in this dream of Barry's. And we were all focused on making this company great. So yes, I was an important. Barry said I was known as the unsung hero of Motown. I said I'd like to be a song hero. Forget the unsung part. I wrote a lot of songs with Motown, with some of the best artists there. I wrote songs for Marvin Gaye and the Supremes and the Four Tops and the Temptations, and some of the songs that were big records, like Dancing in the Street, Pride and Joy, and Stubborn Kind of Fella, and Takes Two, Devil with the Blue Dress, and What Becomes of, I mean, no, Beachwood 45789, and My Baby Loves Me, and I can't even think of some of the songs. There were so many songs, so many songs.
Um,
And I wrote them with great artists, like with Smokey and Ivy Joe and Marvin Gaye and I. And it was like a family kind of feeling. We worked together. We worked not to make hits. We wrote songs to do songs. They became hits. But we didn't say, let's write the hit record. We didn't go at it with that attitude. We went at it, let's do this song. And let's give it to this artist. So there's a big difference. Not like today's kind of setup. Big difference. Writing songs in my time, and I'm sure it's the same as it is today, songs come out of, for me, they came out of the living experience, the moment, the love, the disappointments, the joy, and certain things that people say or do around you that affect you. And you take those lines or those moments and you turn them into music. And sometimes we call hitting a wall, where you can think of something and it's not quite working for you. So I may ask to Marvin or Ivy Joe, what do you think about this? And then he'll add his part. And and we kind of build these things together. I'm sure it's the same way, but our theory and our basis, the basis for starting the songs, were from a different era, a different time. People like myself and Smokey and others, we were listening to the My Fair Ladies, the Lerners and Lows, the great songwriters of the world at the time. And they did incredible shows, incredible songs, incredible musicals. And so it was part of our sound that we heard in our ears, the sounds, the ideas. So we'd take that, and then we'd add our feelings and some of the thoughts that our lives and the moments, we'd add that to what we heard and we liked. And so I would say I learned from the masters about writing songs. And of course, the best songwriter to me was Smokey Robinson. He was, or is, like a poet in writing songs. And it all from the same place. His experiences were different than mine, or yours, or whatever, but he came from his heart. And so we all came from our hearts when we were writing then. The joys and the disappointments, we brought it to music. And I would say it's the same today, just the experiences are different. You know, the information and knowledge that the young writers get today come from another place, so they got to come from where they come from. Smokey's song for me would be Tracks of My Tears. I mean, the lyric to that song is unbelievable. Now, I like My Girl, My Guy, and all the other stuff, and they were great songs. But the Tracks of My Tears seem to touch everyone that has ever been in love, in or out of love. That song seems to touch you. And like I said in my book, I've had a few loves, so I've been touched a few times. Talking about favorite songs, I think my favorite song is the song that I'm writing at the time I'm writing it. I think that's the best way I could put that, because each one demands all I have, and I give it all I got, so to me that's the favorite at the moment. I've done a lot of musical plays, and each moment I gave it that moment, and I gave it that song that fit that moment. So for me, my favorite song is the one that I'm doing at the time I'm writing it. Now, other writers that I love, their songs, like I said, Smokey's tune, Tracks of My Tears, and I like Holland Dozier Holland's I Hear a Symphony, great song. And then Ivy Joe and I did a song for the Four Tops called What Becomes of Brooklyn? No, that was what was that song we did for Levi Stubbs did this tune. Can't think of the title of it now, but when you hear Levi Stubbs sing on the Four Tops, any song you give him, he just destroys it. He's an incredible singer. I discovered them, I might add, which was when I was in the Army on a furlough. I saw them performing, and when I saw them, I said, boy, these guys are going to be great one day. And thank God I was the one to help bring them into the business afterwards, which was really great. That was a real joy for me to make that, to see it and then make it happen. That was a joy for me. I brought quite a few artists into the company, and that was my job as A&R man. But the thing that was one of my joys, again, was the Funk Brothers, the rhythm section, the musicians that made all the music. They were individually, they were great. Collectively, they were awesome. And each one had a different kind of soul, a different kind of approach to music. And to see that come together was magic. That was a blessing. I think the Funk Brothers was the basic sound of the Motown music, and that was a God-given gift. And I was very proud to put that together. I was Motown an involving kind of culture. I don't. That's not a word I would like to use for that. I would say Motown became a hope, a vision for young black talent, so they could see a way out. I think it presented itself in a way that artists or artists, writers, producers who saw no way of expressing themselves found Motown an avenue to make it happen, and it worked. When we did auditions, they would come from starting in Detroit and the surrounding cities, but as the auditions grew, they came from New York, Chicago, Texas. They came with the hope that if they got with Motown, they could express themselves. It could happen for them. And that's what made it so wonderful. I think Motown affected culture because, for the purpose that it was there and the people that got involved, they had an opportunity to leave some of the things around them that were not good for them to get into something that was good for them. And it gave them hope. And I say in my book that it is, this was and this is my opinion, this is a thing that was a God-given gift, was here for a purpose. And I was drawn into it, and so was the Smokies and the Holland Doziers and the Ivy Joes and the Marvins. We were all drawn into this quest, this dream of berries that was planted by the seed of the man upstairs. And so when that happens, you do things beyond your ability. I mean, you just find yourself doing things that you had no idea you could do, because the plan is that it works. The idea is to make it work, and you do it from your heart. You see, and so if you want to call it a culture or whatever, okay, call it what you like. But let's just say it was planted here for a reason, and it developed for a reason, and like all the things that happens from the hand of the Lord, stays forever. So that's the way I look at it. Well, the fashion part of the Motown phenomenon was the talent was very young talent, from the ages of, say, 15 to around 20. And for that, they come from, as we say, ghetto, or the hard lifeline of the city and other cities. So to be in competition with things that were happening out in New York and Chicago and all that, we had to not only sing the songs, but we had to look the part. To look the part, we had to dress the style. So we kind of made it a point to make sure the clothes were right, the look was there. I came from a place personally with Lionel Hampton and that organization of seeing great artists work. And I saw great costumes and great clothes, and I saw great lights and great sound, and what colors look better with lights on the person and all that sort of thing. And I happened to be in it at the time and studying it, not knowing that I was going to use it later. I was just there. And I was seeing this happening. So when it came time for us to take our artists on the road and present them in front of television and in front of audiences, I said, look, they got to look like the ones I've seen. You know, they can't come out with a pair of Levi's on, or a shirt that don't work, or the lights, some colors that's not going to work with lights. As a matter of fact, let's have lights. Let's put it all together. And Barry, being the kind of person that he was, he would let me do everything that I thought would make Motown better. He never gave me a problem about that. As a matter of fact, he said, "You think that's going to work?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do it." That was incredible. So I helped make the decision on the fashion for the artists, which was an influence of the jazz and the great artists that I've seen before I got to Motown. I used all that to make the fashion work for the Motown artists. We brought in costume designers and everything. We brought in people who were good at what they did. I was in a place called Atlantic City once, and I met a guy named Lon Fontaine, who was a choreographer, and he was a great dancer. And I'm watching this show, and I saw these incredible girls come out with these wonderful costumes on. And they did this great dance, and all of a sudden this guy comes out with his outfit on, and he does this great dance with them. And I said, "Oh, this is great. And who did this? Who designed these clothes?" And the owner of the place said, "The guy, Lon Fontaine." So I immediately had him come over to my table. I said, "Lon, we need this. We need this for the Motown artists." He said, "But you guys do R&B." I said, "We are entertainers, and we need your skill and your things to make us become better." And I actually sat at the table and sold him on the idea of joining us, and he did. We had one chance, and in that one opportunity, we had to make everything work. That meant from the song to the clothes to the hands, the eyelids to the hair, everything had to be right, because once we missed, it was over, and we couldn't afford that. So we took the best of the best and put it together to make it happen. And that was it. During the time that Motown was developing and we were growing as a company, the country was going crazy. We had between, say, from 60 to around 65, we had incredible things happening. We had riots. We had the prejudice thing going on in the South, which was unbelievable. We had assassinations from Martin Luther King to Malcolm X to the Kennedys. We had churches being burned in the South, kids being actually young. They had 2 or 3 girls were burned up in churches, and all the kids. And nobody was going to jail for this. It was just the law was turning their back and walking away as if it never happened. We had the governor there stopping the schools. So they had changed where they had to the blacks were able to go, according to the government, to the word was go to other schools. They had a word for that. They call it
Segregation or
no, it was called
migration?
integrate the schools. And they had a resistance with that. They didn't want blacks going to white schools in the South, and it was terrible. And they had the dogs out and stopped the kids from going in. And I mean, they actually the governor stood on the stairway of the school with the dogs and the police, and it was terrible, terrible, terrible. And all this time, this music at Motown was growing and growing and growing. And the parents, the kids at that time, who became the parents of today, they had problems in their own homes because their parents were telling them, sticking with the prejudice, segregated concept, and yet the kids, white, Jewish, other nationalities, were listening to this Motown music and enjoying it and loving the songs, and they were saying to themselves, something's wrong with this picture. I've had people tell me today, because we talk about it in different meetings, how they would listen to the music of Motown in bed at night they would cover themselves up under the cover and play the music because they were not allowed to play it in the homes, but they were enjoying it. And they were recognizing that what they were told about the segregated world was not true, because no one could make this kind of music and have all this love going on and be as bad as they were supposed to be. So they started having problems. One group of DJs in New York were telling me how, and they're now big jocks. They were telling me how they loved the music then, and they had problems with their own families, saying, "Hey, but this can't be. They can't be that bad. It can't be like you say they are, because the music is so great. The stories are wonderful, and I've met the people." Some guys would even, I've heard where they would go down to the Apollo, sneak out at night, and go down to the Apollo and watch the black artists come in and perform and get autographs. And now these are the people who are the parents of today, and yet they were in conflict with their own families. So the music kept growing and growing. And what happened was, the purpose, Motown kind of put a tranquilizing feeling over this country and in Europe, that it's not all that bad. Something's wrong with this picture. Love, music was a love potion for people to hang on to, and it was such a good thing. I mentioned in my book, The A&R Man, and I broke it down in real detail, and even gave you times and dates where these things were happening, and songs that were still going great all over the world while this was going on. And it showed that when God takes a moment to show the world that we're all human, no one's better than nobody else, he used this to make it happen. I even feel that the city of Detroit, which, like I said, we made automobiles, not music, was, he picked that particular place. It was not New York, it was not Chicago, it was not Los Angeles. He took Detroit and this black company, to prove a point. And it happened. And in the book, The A&R Man, I make this real clear and give you places and dates and times. And I was very proud of that I came to the realization that this was all done for a purpose. And I was very proud that I was chosen to be involved. And all the other artists and writers around me, we all eventually came to the same conclusion, that this was meant to be. And it was not going to be stopped by anybody. It was going to happen. And I'm very proud of that. The artists and the writers of Motown were brought to places and presented to the American public through television, like the Ed Sullivan Show, and shows that they would bring an artist on for a moment. They do this big build-up about Supremes were coming to, say, the Ed Sullivan Show. And they do this whole build-up to draw the audience in. But when they bring an artist on, like a Supremes or James Brown or any of the other ones, they would only come on for a moment while the credits would roll by, and that was it. They wouldn't get a chance to speak or talk or any of that sort of stuff. Well, when it came down to the Motown artists, and I got to give Berry Gordy this credit, he would insist that not only could they would sing more than one song, but the host would have to talk to them, and they would be on camera. And if you did not agree with him on that, you could not have his artists. You got to understand, our artists were big artists. They were like top 10, #1 artists. So we didn't need the TV to make that happen. The public was already accepting us. So Berry used that by saying, the Supremes or Marvin or the Four Tops will do your show, but you will talk to them, you will present them, and they will do more than one song, and it won't be at the end of the show. And I made it real clear in the book where certain scenes where they would absolutely set an artist up for a television show. And they'd announce it for weeks that, say, the Supremes or Tops were coming, or the Temptations were coming to this specific TV show, and draw the audience in to get the ratings up. And when the artist would come on, the credits would be rolling by, and that's the only time you would see them as the show was going off the air. But when it came down to the Motown artists, that was not the case. So we bridged that gap. We opened those doors. We made it an understanding that, and Dick Clark was one of the few people that would let the artist perform and do the whole 9 yards. He was great at that. And as a matter of fact, we did a Motown 45 television show, and Dick Clark was one of the main stars of TV that would come on and say, hey, these artists were great, and we were proud of him, and he was proud of us, and it was just incredible. And we opened those doors, and it made it possible for artists to follow us on other companies to be recognized for their talent and not their color. And that was a great time for us. It was a great gift, and it opened the doors all over the world. The point is being made that the parents of today were the listeners and the fans of Motown of yesterday. And the funny part is they would have to hide to hear our music. And they talk about it today. And they are the ones that keep Motown alive now. The parents of yesterday are the ones that keep the Motown music on the radio. I mean, they insist on hearing it because it brought back wonderful memories for them. And the stories and the lyrics meant something. And so it's such a great thing. And it's been going on now for over 50 years. That is incredible that a music come out 50 years ago and still being played today on the radio all over the world. When you love the thing you do, that's a youthful potion that stays with you forever. When you do something that you don't like to do, then it shows on in your body, on your face, in your thinking, and all that. When you enjoy what you're doing, then you stay young because it is the youth. It is the inspiration that keeps you young. So I tell all my sons and daughters and their friends, do something that you're going to love. Do something that you feel a part of. And that means it's no longer a job, it's a joy. Well, when you're enjoying something, you can do it forever. And that's what it's really all about. And Smokey, now they look at Smokey and say, wow, this guy look like he hasn't aged. Well, come on. If we did the music 50 years ago, we didn't start at 1, so we got to add some years to the 50. And but we all loved it. I think I took one vacation with Motown I was supposed to do a 2-week vacation. I went to Mexico and stayed 3 days. So everything I could see, I was ready to go back and do what I did, which was create and work and enjoy. And I couldn't wait to get back to create. And that's what it's about. Well, for fashion for us, like I say, it was, we didn't go at it for fashion. We went at it for a look. And of course that became a fashion, but we went at it for a look. We wanted the Temps to look classy, stylish. We had the clothes made, and each group had something that they could represent them in fashion. And even the girls, the costumes, the gowns were fit just right. They were done we brought in the best we could find to make it happen. So that when you looked at a Motown artist, you saw more than just the artist. You saw the young people would say, I want to be like that. I want to look like that. And that's the key. Even with the songs, I want to sing like that. I want to sing those kind of songs. And so it was like an inspiration. It was like part of the whole picture. and that made it so wonderful. Even the producers and the writers, we would stay up to style too. We would have things made and look, because a lot of times we'd have to go on the radio or be on the stage to present the act, and so we'd all make it a point to want the public to say, where did you get that outfit from? Where did you get that from? That suit looks great, or that shirt is wonderful, and it was all part of it. It was all part of the same thing. Well, what we did with Dinah Ross and the girls, we had Barry's sister. She was really, really a smart, talented, fashionable woman, and she would make sure that these girls looked great. And I would go with her. We would see, say, great gowns in the department stores or in the windows and say, you know what? If we had a dress like that or a gown like that with a different touch to it and a different color and all that sort of thing, it would look better on our girls. And we went about it with that point of view. We brought in makeup artists. We brought in ladies that would show the girls how to sit, stand, walk, hold their hands, the right makeup, the right colors with the nails, with the everything. We went as far as we could go. We called it development. See, we took it upon ourselves to develop the artist, not just the songs, but help develop the talent. And the fashion and the clothes were part of development. And so we stayed with that. And I came from, like I say, a place with great artists, so I saw great fashion. I saw the artists wear incredible clothes, incredible tuxedos and suits and shirts were just right. And so I brought that thinking to Motown. And like I said, Barry, and they would say, okay, let's make it happen. Let's get it. And that was good. That was good. That was wonderful. Really wonderful. The book. I want to let you know that the A&R Man will be on the market very soon, and a lot of this information and detailed is in the book. And it also explains the main things that it takes to become a great artist that we found out through the years. Without these things, it won't happen. And above all, it's the persistence and the attitude that you want to be the best and the greatest at whatever you're doing. You must want that. That's got to be in the picture. You take that out, nothing happens. The book should be out in about 2 months.
Can you say I wrote the book?
I wrote the book, The N.R. Man. It'll be out in about 2 months, and I'm very proud of it. It took me a year and a half to write it. And everything that happened with me, and it's from my point of view, with me and Motown, it's all in the book. And it's not about what songs happened and when it happened. That's in other books. But I gave you the real details of how it all happened and why it happened. That's in my book, The A&R Man.
And how it affected America.
And how it affected America and the world.